Hello, everyone, and welcome to your first module. I'm going to give you a module overview. I'm Kelly Crawford, the professor for this class, and I'm going to give you an overview in each module of what we're going to cover and then also the goals that we have for the module. So my goal, you're all either in an internship or you're thinking about an internship, or maybe you're have your job ready and lined up. And what I want it to be is whatever it is, first-time job, internship, whatever, is that you take and glean everything you possibly can for and from that internship or that position in order to help you in your future endeavors. Your internship or your first job may be so boring by your definition. You may be doing menial work or things that are so routine. So I'm going to help you with, all right, how do you get everything you're going to need and connect it to your long-term goal of what you want to be doing to make sure that you can use that experience to the best of its ability. And this first one goes into intern and employee relationships. So we're going to look specifically at how in the world do you build relationships of trust in possibly a very short amount of time? Because in order for you to get everything you want from your internship, you need to trust the people you're working for, and they need to trust you that you can get the work done. That then increases your accessibility to possibly doing more work or doing more creative work. So our goals for this module is we're going to examine inclusive attitudes when working with diverse personalities, backgrounds, and habits. When you go into a workplace, you're going to have different generations. You're going to have everyone's going to be from different backgrounds. So how in the world do you do a radically inclusive acceptance and also know how to set boundaries and make sure that you have trust and they have trust? So that means we're going to draw conclusions about different trust relations in the workplace. So the reading that you have goes into the 4 different trust, basically umbrellas. Almost everything falls under these because you have to build these trusts very quickly. How is it that you do this? And why do you do this? And then we're going to articulate real life implementation of moving from thin to thick relational building in the workplace. So all of you want to be able to leave whatever position you're in and be like, I can go back to whoever was my boss or my employer and ask for a recommendation, and they will give it to me, no questions asked. I want that for you. So when you get to your next step, you have that in place. Also, I want you to gain the skills that you need to get you to your next step, which means building a trust relationship so you can then say, hey, you know what? I know I've been working with your social media. I'd really like to use Sprout for this, and I'd like to change, in order to fit with your mission, here's what I'd like to do. Then they have the trust in you that you can maybe take that on. And then we're also going to utilize mental practice strategies to reflect on past work conflicts and critically problem solve those collaboratively. And so because each module is going to have an activity that you're doing, and this is a way that we can look at what are the common difficulties that people come up in the workplace. They're almost always the same. So that way we can be like, okay, how could you creatively approach this, knowing what we just learned about trust building and relations and working with diverse populations, etc., in order to have that resource basis for you to take with you. So that is what you're going to be doing in this first module. If you have any questions, remember, use the discussion board. I have them on each module. I'm going to check those every single day, probably in the evening, so around 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time, in order to respond back that way. That way, I love collaboration. So that way, if someone has a question, they can go to that kind of like an FAQ, look at it, and they'll have your question and they'll have my response back. So of course, you also have my email as well. I'm very open nature. So in the sense of let me know anything you have questions about, any concerns, etc. And I'm so excited to have you in class. Thanks, everybody.